Yeah, so I'm going to talk about something called Mission Zero, which is the name of a hackathon that we ran with one of our customers, Northumbrian Water. So this happened back in September. So what is Mission Zero? Mission Zero is all about Northumbrian Water's ambition to become a carbon neutral organisation. So at the start of this journey, at the very least in terms of their telematics data, was a data hack which we've run with them. When I'm talking about telematics data, I'm talking about vehicles. So I'm talking about the trucks and vans that are part of Northumbrian Water's fleet. So for context, who are Northumbrian Water? Northumbrian Water are obviously a water company, UK-based water company. What a lot of people might not know about Northumbrian Water is actually they're made up of two distinct parts. There's Northumbrian Water, but there's also Essex and Suffolk Water. So these are two very different regions. They're quite a long way away, neither of which is particularly small, both of which have huge operational fleets of vans, trucks, lorries, tankers. These can be used from anything from going out to read a meter to repairing a burst pipe or tankering sludge between water treatment sites. They've actually sat down and done the maths, and they've figured out that it takes a lot of time, a lot of their carbon emission is produced from these vehicles. So as part of their ambition to become a carbon neutral organization, tackling these vehicle emissions is really key. I suppose it's actually quite timely that I'm giving this talk today, a couple of days after I believe the electric car or the diesel car ban is being brought in 2030 now. So the UK is very much on the road to net zero. And as I'm sure most of you will be aware, the UK government has set a target for the country to be net zero by 2050. And what that actually means for the water industry is that is a binding agreement. So the water companies have to become net zero by 2050. Well, the UK water industry actually got together about this, had a bit of a think. And they came together and decided that, you know, with climate change as being as pressing an issue as it is, people are getting displaced, you know, extreme weather events are increasing, and this is a massive strain on the water industry and delivering water as a resource in the UK, to the point where they want to make sure that this supply is sustainable going even beyond 2050. So they've said we need to get our act together and we need to become carbon neutral by 2030, which is obviously quite a bold target. Northumbrian Water in particular, I don't know if they just want to one-up everybody else, but they would like to be carbon neutral by 2027, which is obviously particularly soon. And obviously this comes straight from the top. So here's a quote from Heidi Mottram, CEO of Northumbrian Water, and she's saying here that it's actually incredibly urgent that the water industry industry in general gets their hands on this issue of carbon neutrality and emissions, and really leads the way. She believes that we're in a unique position in the UK and in the UK water industry to actually demonstrate how this can be done and make a real difference. Obviously, by setting such a bold ambition for her company to get net neutral by 2027 is an excellent step in that direction. So where do I come into this? So Rich says, I'm a data science principal at Amey. And Amey, one of our services is to run and organize data hacks and such things. So that's where we come in. And I personally actually organized this hack rather than took part in it. So as a variety from my usual MKAI talks, I'm not going to yabber on about something fantastic that I've done, but I'm going to yabber on about some fantastic work that other people have done. So Mission Zero takes the form of a data hack. I'm assuming really I'm preaching to the converted here when we talk about hackathons. I think most of you know it's a problem-solving technique where you bring a lot of people together in an intense short period of time to tackle a specific business problem. Obviously, the data hack element of that is that when we run a data hack, we not only get together and come up with a solution to the problem, but we demonstrate the viability of that solution using data. So practically, what that means when we run a hack, we all get together in a tent. Obviously, times as they are, this hack happened in September. This was a virtual tent. The idea is that you have everyone together in a a collaborative atmosphere. You have a really exciting energy in the room, and I like to think that we managed to replicate that virtually as well. Then everybody gets off into teams, but we're all focused on one single challenge statement. In this case, our challenge statement was, how do we decarbonize the operational fleet by 2027? Nice and to the point. At the start of the hack and sort of interspersed through it as well, we like to have lightning speakers. So the lightning speakers tend to be experts who can really add value to the subject and help to inspire teams to think about solutions. So we were lucky for this hack to have two excellent external lightning speakers in the form of the head of external affairs for Nissan and the managing director of CNG Services Limited. CNG Services provides a sort of interesting contrast to Nissan's view of the problem when you're thinking about electric vehicles. CNG Services specialize in something called bio-CNG, or bio-compressed natural gas. Essentially is obviously what it sounds like. It's compressed natural gas, but it can be derived from sewage treatment works, actually, and a lot of it comes from animal sludge and things like that. So it's actually a very viable alternative to electric vehicles for some of the more big vehicles like trucks and tankers, where the electric engines, bar the stuff that Tesla are sort of vaguely touching on, isn't really viable yet. So it was really interesting to give people kind of that context of, don't, box yourself into just electric vehicles. And of course, throughout the hack, we always like to have available subject matter experts. So every team has access to a panel of subject matter experts that tend to sit in their own little virtual tent or table. These subject matter experts are from, of course, the business. So we had subject matter experts in terms of the actual vehicles in Northumbrian Water and the energy problems that they face, but also data and visualization experts. I myself was a data expert. People would come along to me for help with data problems they were facing, or if they wanted a new data set made available, I could assist them with that. I think one example which came up during the hack was we actually obviously had anonymized data for the vehicles. So the actual license plates weren't provided to the hack attendees, but one team wanted to have a script which could work out the vehicle year of manufacture based on the license plate. So I went away and I ran that for them to provide that back in an anonymized format so that it could be useful for their project or their hack. So what are the challenges of running a hack? To get the first one out in the open, the elephant in the room is the remote working. It's the fact that when we usually run this hack, it's up at the Northumbrian Water Innovation Festival, which tends to happen over the summer in Newcastle. And it's lovely. Everybody goes out in a big field. We have physical tents that we all attend, and the Amy ice cream stand is always really popular. Of course, unfortunately, we couldn't quite do that this year, so it was a remote hack. One of the benefits there is everybody, at the very least, has a stable internet connection versus being out in a field in the middle of Newcastle. But it still takes some of the charm away. One of the big problems is, of course, how do you effectively collaborate? When you're in a room together, you can whiteboard, you can post-it and mind map and things like this. But doing that remotely isn't necessarily something which there's an obvious solution for. When we're running hacks, we found something called Miro to be an excellent solution for this. So those of you who aren't familiar with Miro, I highly recommend you get familiar with Miro. It's an online sort of collaboration, dashboarding, not really dashboarding, workshopping and post-it notey type tool. And it's really good for this kind of collaborative atmosphere. And really, it's no substitute for being in the same room. But in my opinion, it really helps. Next problem. This is a general problem. We have this even when we're at the actual event physically. It's data access. It's making sure that that data is available to all the hack participants in a timely and, of course, safe manner. First one of course, data sets for these hacks can sometimes be quite big. We had 2 years worth of telematics data available for this hack. So it's no small data set. So it's making sure that that data set is ready actually in advance of the hack, so that people can download that data set maybe the day before, and then they're ready to hit the ground running when the hack starts, rather than spending the first day just trying to get their hands on the data. It's of course making sure that that data is secure. All the hack participants have to sign NDAs. And even then, we needed to do a lot of work to anonymize the data, which was my sort of bulk involvement in this, was running around trying to figure out how to anonymize the data without taking its value away. So when you're looking at this telematics data, you've got journeys of vehicles, and those vehicles could actually go back to employees' houses to live overnight, and obviously that's personal information. So what we needed to do was make sure we stripped out the postcodes back to sectors, so that they couldn't be identified. We needed to hash the vehicle registration plates, so you couldn't look up, anything about that vehicle from any other data sets that might help you identify someone. And we had to make sure that when the vehicle was not going to a job, so maybe when it was being used for some sort of personal trip, there was no information available at all. That was provided along with things like the fuel and mileage data, and vehicle stats. So actually, what type of vehicle was this? Was it a van? Was it a truck? Was it a lorry? And things like its age and when it was due to be replaced. All of this data was provided through Microsoft Azure as a platform. So Azure Storage Explorer is a fantastic little tool that everyone can usually get on their laptops, and you can have shared files on there, which is a great way for us not only to deliver data, but for people to share and collaborate data amongst their teams. So to get into the actual prizes and the actual project, obviously this was a competition, and each team had to present back their solution at the end of the hack week. And we had a set of judges. So those judges were mostly made up of essentially people within the business at Northumbrian Water. So we had the commercial director, fleet services manager, and the energy development manager, as well as Amy's very own Ryan Moore, head of data and analytics, for that kind of more data sciencey view of the challenge. And the judges were looking for three things. So best visualization. So this is all about a team that really understands some of the complex data that we gave to them and delivers information about it in a very concise way. They're also looking for the best insight, and best new insight, sorry. So obviously the judges are very clever people. They're in on the business side of this, and they know this problem very well. They've been trying to solve it themselves. So this was really about, can you come up with something that tells them something new, something they didn't already know, through the power of data science and analytics. And of course, first prize, best overall solution. And the key thing that the judges were looking for here was that actually the insights delivered by the solution were actionable, practical suggestions that could work towards their goal of net zero with good value for money. So moving straight into the prizes, the best visualization. I've got up on here the technologies that these guys used. I think you can understand why they won. Speaking as someone who struggles to get JavaScript, anyone that gets Angular, it's going to be good. So here's a little screenshot. Unfortunately, I can't make it bigger because all the data had to be deleted after the hack due to privacy reasons. But the solution here is a sort of job management solution where the operational manager could see all the different jobs currently out at the moment and pick the most appropriate vehicle to go to that job. So best new insight. Now you will see the difference between necessarily insights and visualization. Those of you who know R will recognize this as ggplot. But this was the best new insight, and it was this single insight that sort of got that prize. And it was that 81% of carbon emissions are made by journeys with 90 miles or less, which is a really powerful conclusion, and it sort of blew away a lot of preconceptions that the judges might have had. Actually, it's those lower journeys which are making the difference, and it means that replacing cars with EVs is a lot more viable. So, the moment you've been waiting for, the best overall solution. Unfortunately, I've gone away with time a little bit, but they focused on three key areas, which are: when are the electric vehicles suitable for jobs? How much will they cost? And actually, is there something we can do about those conventional vehicles that maybe aren't suitable for EV replacements? And sort of the secret sauce here was to come up with a red, amber, green system for vehicle replacements and visualizing that in Power BI. So actually, there was a really sort of right in the middle of the road visualization here that allowed people to come in and see actually by department which vehicles are the most appropriate for replacement, and plan that strategy out. But the key differentiator that stood this team apart from other teams that did similar things was this. It was the idea that if there's a vehicle with a short journey vehicle, which is very suitable for replacement with EV, but actually it's already quite carbon efficient, but another vehicle which is less efficient but travels too far, you could sort of rejig the vehicles and have this replacement chain where you replace the short journey vehicle with an electric vehicle and shift that fuel efficient vehicle to those longer journeys. So thank you very much. Hopefully I've stuck within
Thanks,
time
Jack.
there.
Yes, you have almost stuck to time. Yes, I must say thank you to you. And as usual, I love to summarize your talks, and it is nice to see, how Mission Zero is helping fleet management to look at sustainable solutions, how people are taking it really seriously when it comes to, where people used to think, okay, it's all right not to have a solution which is sustainable, but it's great how we are running data hacks remotely, with so many tools involved. And it's great that you were involved too. So thank you so much for your talk.